Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. So today I wanted to do another book review for you, and I wanted to discuss this book, Fat Camp by James Sabata. So this was a great little summertime read, and here we follow a teenage boy named Philip McCracken, and Philip weighs in at approximately 400 pounds. So his mother sends him to Fat Camp for the summer, and while he's there, and he actually isn't having a very good time, and he calls his sister to come pick him up, but before they can leave, the camp starts to be stalked by a killer. So this is a slasher novel, and I was actually really surprised with kind of the level of violence in this book. For some reason, I had it in my head that this was geared towards a younger audience, and it didn't really go that way. So first and foremost, this is very much a coming of age story. So probably I would say the first 50% of the book is very much Philip's experience at camp, and we really get to know him as a person. So the character development of Philip especially, but also the other characters, the author really does spend a lot of time developing their stories. So Philip, like I said, is a teenage boy, and his mother sends him off to Fat Camp. And through Philip's thoughts, we kind of learn that his mother isn't really kind to him. You know, it's not out of love that she sends him to Fat Camp. She is very much a bully. She gives him a really hard time about his weight. And we also learn that Philip has lost his father in the past few years, so he's dealing with a lot of grief. And then his best friend actually goes to the Fat Camp with him. He's overweight as well. But while they're there, his best friend is really excelling at everything, and you know, he's lost more weight than almost anybody else at the camp, and he's winning medals for, you know, different races and stuff like that that they're doing. And you know, Philip is really kind of feeling down about himself because he thought that he and his best friend were just going to have sort of a normal summer together, even though they were stuck at this camp. And then to just kind of add to everything, Philip's best friend is actually dating his older sister. So it gets really kind of awkward. You know, Philip isn't really sure what he thinks about his best friend dating his sister. And so Philip really feels down about himself. Nothing's really going right. He's not excelling at the camp at all. He's not enjoying himself. He hasn't lost any weight. And the counselors are also giving him a really hard time. So this is, you know, kind of one of those camps that the lead counselor is really a drill sergeant kind of character, and I really felt that this book reminded me a lot of the movie Heavyweights from the 1990s. If you've ever seen that movie, it's actually quite funny. So aspects of this book really reminded me of that movie. And you know, so poor Philip, he is not really having a great time. So he decides that he's going to call his older sister to come pick him up, and he wants out. He wants to go home. He doesn't care that his mother is going to give him a hard time. He just wants out of this camp. And so his sister actually shows up with Philip's crush. So Philip pretty much for his whole life has had a crush on his sister's best friend. And before he can leave with his sister, like I said, there is a killer on the loose, and people start turning up dead. So actually another movie that this reminds me of is another 1990s movie called Angus, and it's not a really well-known movie from my experience. I've seen it at least 25 times. I think it's a great film, but it is definitely not something that a lot of people that I know have seen. So the first 50% of the book, like I said, is very much developing the character of Philip and his relationship with his best friend, and you know, going through all of the teenage things, and we get to learn about the other characters in the book, you know, the other campers and the counselors. And I was really surprised at the humor in this book, and it's definitely like immature humor. So it's definitely full of a lot of boy jokes, things that boys would laugh at and stuff like that. But I have to say, for the whole first part of the book, I was smiling, and some of the jokes made me giggle because I'm completely immature like that too. So that was really refreshing. I really enjoyed that aspect of the book. I really like coming of age stories, and I think this book was written really, really well in that sort of vein. Like I said, it reminds me a lot of kind of like the Disney coming of age stories and, you know, all of that sort of thing. And then for the second half of the book, it gets pretty gruesome, I have to say. The killer, I had no idea who this person was. You know, it had me going with, you know, I think it's this person, and then it would take a turn and I think it was that person. But I have to say that the kills were definitely imaginative. There was a high body count, and, you know, it really had me looped into the story, especially because it had spent the whole first part of the book developing these characters. So I was very, very invested in the story. I was really invested in the characters. And of course, you know, I was kind of a geek when I was growing up too. I wasn't overweight, but I was kind of a nerd and dealing with a lot of things that teenage girls and boys deal with during that period of their lives. And I really, really enjoyed that aspect of the story. So if you're going to pick up this book, just know going into it that for the majority of it, the slasher part of the story and the horror doesn't come until the second part. So there was actually some illustrations in here that were really great and really, really imaginative. And like I said, high body count. I enjoyed trying to figure out who the murderer was. It was a really, really great story. This book really surprised me. I'm surprised that I liked it as much as I did. And I heard over on Cameron Chaney's channel, he said that this book has a lot of heart, and it really does. It has a lot of heart. It has humor, it has, you know, plenty of kills, lots of blood, trying to figure out who the killer is. This, I think, probably ended up being my favorite summer read, and I think this is a book that I'm going to go back into and read again. I really, really enjoyed it. So for things that I didn't really enjoy, there were a couple of parts that were, you know, things kind of slowed down a little bit, but it wasn't anything really that took me out of the story too much. But there was one aspect of the story that when it wrapped up everything at the end, I was like, oh, okay, that was kind of dumb. So it was kind of a plot point that, you know, I didn't really agree with in the story. But like I said, it didn't take me out of it whatsoever. This was a fantastic book. Like I said, it wasn't as young as I thought it was going to be. It is definitely more of a YA into new adult kind of book. I personally thought it was going to be more towards the younger adult type book. But like I said, this was kind of an older YA novel, and I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the raunchy jokes and, like I said, the killing and all of that. And then the motivation behind all of the killing, I really enjoyed. All of that was revealed at the end, and why this person or these people were out killing people. It was really good. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this one 4.5 stars. I really, really enjoyed this book. Like I said, there were just a couple of plot points that didn't really jive with me, but that's totally fine. I mean, not every book that you read is going to be a 5-star book. I would highly recommend going out and picking this one up if you enjoy, like I said, the coming of age stories and teenage boys and going through all of the things during those kinds of years and getting the slasher novel at the same time. So those are my thoughts on Fat Camp by James Sabata. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please, if you did, give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know if you've read this book and if you enjoyed it, or if you're planning on going out and picking it up. But until next time, stay spooky, guys. Bye.